Awesome. Well, Erik, where are you at right now?
In Ashland, Oregon, in Southern Oregon.
Okay. In your studio?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I got the memo about the simple backdrop, but this
Yes.
is the chaos of my life,
You're
the whiteboard that rules my world.
okay,
And
so
then
are you a Google Calendar guy or are you like
no,
all like writing it down?
uh, I'm an Apple calendar slash
Mm,
actually a Todoist. I have like just a list that sits on my desktop that I
yeah.
use, and then yeah, the whiteboard that I try not to look at too much because my wife just puts way too much stuff on it.
Yeah. I feel that. And you just got back from Belize, is that correct? You have a little tan going on?
Yeah, yeah. Got back from Belize with the fam, just doing some exploring Mayan ruins and snorkeling and hanging out.
Were you not working,
Not
getting a
working.
break?
Yep, lounging
Good.
around, drinking rum, swimming.
That sounds amazing right about now. It's you
Yeah,
gotta like escape the winter this time of
yeah,
year when it's
yeah. February.
I need to like just book a trip next February and not be here. So that is the goal.
I'm taking off to Nicaragua for a surf trip next week, so that'll be nice too.
That's exciting. Is the fam coming or is that a solo endeavor?
Boys trip.
Well, I want to go back a little bit to kind of the beginning. Obviously, now you're a successful artist and um very established. This is like your full-time thing, and you and I were able to connect like a year ago, and your work and what you do like really inspires me. So I'm excited to have you on. Erik, welcome to Studio Sundays.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
enjoyed your book, by the way. Thank you
Oh,
for.
nice. Maybe you need to write a book.
People have asked me if I'm going to or not. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you have a really great story, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. Just to like kick things off, is you have this whole business established now. You're a successful artist, but before kind of the art business and Able Arts, you were Erik, surfing a lot, I think, and like sketching, traveling the world. So, what was kind of your first memories of surfing and also like sketching in your sketchbook or art? And did that start around the same time?
I mean, I'd always been an art kid. I mean, there was from the time I could pick up a pencil, I was drawing. So there was just never really another option. I don't think for me. I just never wanted or expected that I was going to do anything else but make art. Um, from a little kid, just growing up. I mean, I was always just. I grew up in Southern California, so I was always just playing in the ocean and didn't stand up on a surfboard till I was 11, and then I was absolutely hooked. And then obviously all my art started just I was drawing waves on all my school paperwork and all my sketchbooks and started airbrushing surfboards right my senior year of high school for Roberts surfboards down in Ventura and was always just I was doing skateboard graphics and snowboard graphics and um, just always kind of in the board sports, surf, snowboard world, and that just kind of kept going. I think, and just I was learning all the Adobe programs pretty early on, and I definitely credit that with being able to do a lot of the commercial projects I've been able to do, just knowing how to use the design programs and make things look how you want them to make and apply them to products and stuff. So yeah, just all kind of just kept going.
So it started early, your love of like the outdoors and of creativity. Where did you go to school? You did go to college, is that correct? And did you, yeah, where did you go and what did you go to school for?
Right out of high school, I just went to Ventura College and knocked out my, AA prerequisite stuff and just was surfing, airbrushing surfboards, and just kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. And then I was super into snowboarding too, so I moved to Utah for a winter to live with my friend that I had gone out there several times every year to go visit him. So I moved in with him, and I was going to school out there a little bit at community college, finish up some credits, and then I was like, okay, I gotta figure out what I'm doing. I gotta go to school for art and figure out what I want to do. And I decided being an art teacher was going to be maybe the coolest job because you get to be creative and be around these creative kids. And then in the summers, you're traveling out of here.
Mhm.
Um, so I kind of just did some random research and found Ashland, SOU's down here. So they had just built a giant new art facility, huge complex the year before. And they didn't test. You didn't have to test to get into this college. They accepted anybody, paid tuition, signed up for classes. It's a little college, but um, it was fun. So I just packed up my truck and came here sight unseen. And um, yeah, Ashland's a magical little town, and there's a mountain 30 minutes away that I can actually see from a little corner window from my studio.
Nice.
Um, and so that I was sold. I was like, okay, all new art department. It's cheap tuition. I can snowboard. It's not too far from the beach. So, yeah, got my bachelor's in art from SOU, and then was going to go into the master's program, and decided that I didn't want to be an art. I wanted to prove myself as an artist before I could teach others how to make art. So I decided just to kind of keep going with what I was doing. I was doing freelance stuff the whole way through college, did snowboards and graphics and logos and all kinds of stuff to make ends meet. But yeah, I just decided I needed to be an artist first, and then maybe come back to it. But never. That's never gonna happen.
You're never gonna be an art teacher now.
No, no.
Yeah, that's fair. Was your family supportive when you decided to pursue kind of like that path of art in college and then as a career?
Yeah, for sure. They knew I was talented, and I that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
They weren't trying to tell me to do anything else. So
for sure.
I'm sure that's helpful. I'm sure a lot of artists get some shit from their parents for wanting to be an artist. I totally get that, but I was lucky to not have any of that.
Yeah, that's really nice. And then did you travel after you left college? Like, did you go out on some surf trips and stuff after
Yeah,
that?
I moved to Portland. I was doing like summers back in Ventura, and I actually went and was an art director for a startup down in LA for a couple of years, 2006, seven. I was doing freelance work for them for a couple of years before that, and then they started really growing and wanted me down in house, and that's when I realized that I was not meant to work for anybody else. I was just like living in LA. I can't deal with the madness down there. It's way too much, and just working way too much. But we built a crazy successful company, and I left and moved back to Portland for a little while, and then saved up and just yeah took off the surfboard bag and a backpack for a couple of years. Just
Okay.
traveled around South Pacific, New Zealand, Australia, Indo,
What
Fiji.
was what was like the craziest experience you had during that couple years travel abroad?
And I mean, there were a lot of amazing experiences. Something that really sticks out was I was crewing on a little boat from Tonga back to New Zealand, which is like over 1,000 miles, I think. And we were just stuck in this crazy storm, and our sails ripped, and we're out of gas. We ended up having to get towed in by customs boat off the coast of New Zealand. But everything, we ran out of food. Everything went wrong. It was chaos. I was like thinking of mutiny, but I was in charge of night shifts, and I'd have to go. Yeah, the autopilot broke, so it was just this little oar on the back to steer, and had all these rope contraptions with knots to keep it on course. And I'd have to go out there at night from like 2 in the morning to 6 in the morning. And when you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and there's zero light pollution, and I remember just sitting there looking up in the middle of the night and seeing, I mean, the Milky Way was just as bright as it looked like it looked fake. And the bioluminescence in the boat wake, all it was psychedelic. It was crazy. I was tripping balls on reality.
Wow, that sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
it was magic. Um, that's a bit that was a big experience. But
Yeah.
yeah, just overall, just sailing, learning how to sail and sailing around and just living free and being being by myself, being able to make my own decisions of where I was going to go, what I was going to do. And I think that I encourage everybody to at least go travel by yourself at some point in your life for an extended period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself in the world, more than you do just kind of staying in your safety bubble of familiarity with people and
Yeah.
places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even traveling with your partner, it's still completely different. There's decisions you have to agree on. You can't just be like, I'm getting on a plane, I'm going there. And it's, it's, yeah, you learn a lot about yourself. You
Um,
traveled around quite a bit, right?
I have, yeah, I've usually, I think as like a female, it is a little bit of like,
Right.
and maybe it's in my head, but I do have a little bit more of like just safety concerns.
Yeah.
And I know there are badass women that do travel alone, but I've usually been with like another female or like my boyfriend. But the craziest one I did was India when I was 19, 20 for 3 months with one other female that was my age. And that was like, I wouldn't have wanted to be alone. Like we barely could like handle it on our own.
Yeah.
um, but
Yeah.
that was like nuts. That was just a crazy life experience. And I'm glad that I did that. I mean, that's confidence building in itself, just
Right. Right.
figuring out where to go and navigating a country with a whole different like alphabet and language.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you just do that? Like you just like, I'm gonna go for 3 months. We're gonna go explore.
So I did it. I did Knowles. It was a Himalayan mountaineering course. So that was the first chunk of it. And then, so that was like insane in itself because we were like at 18,000 feet in the Himalayas.
Jeez.
And we were on snow for 30 days, like without seeing other humans. So there were 10 of us, but it was nuts. And then a girl that I met on that course, we decided like, let's not go home. Let's just go travel. So that's when we went and traveled Southern India together. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so you traveled, you had that experience of like the quintessential young man out on the world in his
The
20s.
walkabout.
Yes, the walkabout. And eventually you came back and you started your business of what it is today, which is Able Arts. I know you were like freelancing up until then, but it sounds like there kind of was this shift from like previous conversations you and I have had of when you kind of like fully committed to almost like this career and this path. What was that like and what led to that decision?
Um, I got to the point where I was like, I need a vacation from my vacation. It was, it's unsettling when you don't have a home base and you're not in your environment and I didn't have an art studio for so long. I was just like, oh, I was drawing. I had all these sketchbooks and just like all these ideas I wanted to do for art and paintings, and it just built up too much. Where I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back to Ventura. I'm gonna get an art studio. I'm gonna live by myself and just like I need to do something. I need to make this happen
Mm-hmm.
and just focus on my art path for a while. Um, and that was what I did. It was awesome. There was a new little art studio condo community that started up a couple blocks from the beach, and I was able to get into one of the studios there and just started really cranking. I bought a printer that eventually I was doing, my paper prints and um, yeah, things just started snowballing, and I right when I got back, I was able to do the Reef Hawaiian Pro 2011 artwork for that, and that was a pretty big catapult for my career. It was on the webcast, it was the sandals, it was on shorts, it was on t-shirts, it was the print was went crazy. And Wyland Gallery picked me up and wanted to show my work. So that was like the most insane first project right off the bat that I could ask for. So
Yeah.
just kind of kept it going from there.
Yeah, it makes sense how did that opportunity come about for you? Because some people spend, years waiting for something like that to
Yeah.
happen.
How about who you know? My buddy PJ was the marketing director
Mhm.
for Reef. So and he got me. I did it again in 2014, and then he moved to Rip Curl. That's how I did the finals event in 2022 at Trestles WSL finals. So that was yeah, he's been my little inside man for for the surf industry for a few big projects.
Kind of catching up to where you're at now, I saw that you totally remodeled or you built from the ground up your studio in
Yeah,
2020,
yeah.
right? Around then. And that looks like a really intense project, but you're living in Ashland, you're running Able Arts out of this studio. Catch us up to where you're at now.
We were down in Ventura, and then moved up to Seaside, which was up on the Oregon coast there, outside of Portland, um, which was a really strange move to make. But we did. We had a killer beach house, and made some really good friends up there. Had a couple babies, and uh, then we decided to move back to Ashland. My wife's from here, and I still have friends from college days, and her family's here. My mom moved down here, so we've got a little group, and we decided to. It was a good place to raise kiddos.
Mhm.
I miss being so close to the beach like crazy, but life's weird sometimes. Make
Yeah.
weird decisions. And a week before COVID hit, a week before lockdowns hit, we moved, and it was just two toddlers in a little Airbnb with none of our stuff, and it was just so gnarly.
Wow.
And everybody was taking their houses off the market because they didn't want people going in them. And so we finally just ended up buying this house that we had looked at like a year before, and walked in and walked out and went, hell no. So we ended up buying that house and gutting it and renovating it in the middle of COVID. Everything's super expensive and hard to get. And, we were just bouncing around from hotels to in-laws to Airbnbs, short-term rentals. It was not fun.
Wow. How
But
did
that
you Yeah, how did you keep up your business when that was all
oh,
happening?
I had to rent a studio,
Mm.
um, and then the house got done, and we were able to build the studio in the front yard, which has been amazing.
Yeah, it
Dream
looks
come true.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So,
about to go under the process of remodeling this space,
yeah.
and I was looking at your
You're out of like the cabin, right?
yeah, I'm out of the cabin. So I also bought a house during COVID,
Okay.
and it had like this outbuilding, so it's not connected to the house, which is
Oh,
nice. It's
perfect.
probably
Perfect.
a similar size to your studio, but it's just like ugly and like no insulation. So I'm like, it's time to make some changes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've had studios. I had a big 1,800 square foot studio warehouse in Ventura. That was a few miles from my house, and it was cool to have that space. But it was just, I, my life is too intertwined with my art, so I need to be at my house, but not in my house.
For
Um,
sure.
some artists like to have a place to go every day and like not have anything to do with where they live, but I'm the opposite. I need to be around my house.
Yeah, well, that makes sense too when you have kids and stuff, and like you kind of like, how does that go? How do you balance family life, your hobbies, and your job? What is the balance like?
I don't.
Fair.
It's impossible. Um, I don't know. I definitely am not as productive as I used to be. Yeah, it's just exhausted and juggling. And I think I mentioned last time how burnt out I am on
Mhm.
everything. So, I mean, I'm planning my escape from art
Mhm.
and or planning my escape from making money from art. I want to separate those two things in my life and just have my art be mine again and not have the compromise of money involved with that. And I'm starting a business with a partner right now, starting a company that I think is going to be a home run and going to allow that to happen. Um, and I'm not ready to re- release what we're doing yet, but we're going to be helping a lot of artists out there, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited about it. But yeah, I've gotten to the point where I think that my career has just compromised. The business of art has compromised my art too much, and the art that I truly want to explore and pursue, um, I don't think I want to start over again with creating a whole. I mean, I do this abstractpursuits.com. That's my other like kind of side business I started. It's got a website. I do prints and I try to get to do that kind of stuff as much as I can, but Able Arts takes almost all my time. Um, but just to have the freedom again to explore where I want to explore, and not even have a thought about, is this going to sell? How do I market this? Who's going to buy this? Do I make a print of the? I'm done. I'm done with that. The art is it's just a persistent pedal to the metal, foot down hustle to make sure you make enough money to survive and do the things you want to do and feed the fam.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of like almost connection with your art and awareness to even recognize that like that it's kind of crushing your current creativity. Because it's interesting now when you almost see like anybody that just starts to paint might like post their painting for sale because that's almost like how we've kind of commoditized art. And in this capitalist culture, I think it's impossible not to like
Yeah,
try to
you want to
sell
make
the
money.
things.
You want to make money
Right.
doing the things you love.
Totally. But it also, it's like how you started out and you were kind of in your sketchbooks inspired, needing that studio, needing that space to like let your creativity almost like thrive to where now it does start to wear you out. And I feel that, and I've not been doing this as long as you. This is my 6th year of business or 7th year of business. My business is 6, but you kind of have to like figure out how to evolve it with you, or like it's just not sustainable to constantly be hustling. Like you don't have a life if that's what you're doing.
It's hard to scale things to where they need to be. I mean, there are some artists. I'm sure there's artists that they're in a place where what they're making is truly what they want to make, and they're exploring how they want to explore in their art, and they might be at a position in the career or be with the right galleries that are able to sell that art. There might be at a point in their career where they can make whatever they want and not worry about it not selling. Um, but I think that's very few artists.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. There could be a lot more artists that are making exactly what they want to make all the time and not really having that business side of things compromise what they're doing. I find it very hard to do that. I find it really, really challenging to not let the thought of needing to make money influence some part of what I'm creating.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's gotten to be what I really don't like about where I'm at. And then I see things like even, oh, I'm starting this abstract pursuits to be free and to like explore things that I'm inspired by now. And oh, things are selling, and I automatically, it's like a trigger. It's like, it's hard not to think about like, oh, I should do more of those. Even
Mhm.
though once I started doing that, it's like, I don't want to do more of these. I'm not inspired to do more of these. And uh, that's the problem, I think.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing about it. There's some people that might love doing the same thing over and over again. I don't know, but it's not it's not me.
Do you feel like like the source of your inspiration for art has kind of shifted? And so that's almost
Absolutely.
where, yeah.
100% shifted. And it sucks to say that, but I mean, I don't know. As artists, I don't think that we're supposed to be expected to be inspired by the same thing our entire life.
Yeah. That's completely unrealistic. Like
You
we
look at
change as humans.
Yeah, exactly. So I've grown a lot, gone through fatherhood, just like grown a lot over the last decade. And it's like my priorities are different. What I want out of life are different. Where I am in life is different. And so my art should be different,
Mhm.
or you would think. Um, and I just think about, you know, what is it like for a collector to hear that? Like what is it like for somebody that's been following my art, that collects my art, that buys prints, buys originals, and they hear that I'm not inspired to do those things anymore. It's like that sucks. But at the same time, would it be worse to hear that the artist is just never going to change because they always want to have a career?
I think yes. I think it would but I think there's different ways to pursue it and it's also like it makes a lot of sense like you have a family, it's a similar place that I've gotten into as well. I have a mortgage. There's like the expenses are higher than when I entered this whole situation. So you got to like pay your bills.
Yep.
And it sucks when you put something out there and it's crickets. Like, I don't know if I'm wondering if it's like for you, does it feel like you've kind of experimented with doing something different and haven't gotten like a good response or have gotten no response? Or is it that you are afraid to try?
Well, so I've noticed, I feel like when I first came back to Ventura, I got that studio, I was done with my travels. That was like pure I was so inspired. I was just doing whatever I wanted and all this stuff. It was just all happening. I was having a ball and it was exciting. I was growing. I was like selling art and learning the business of it and like really, enjoying that aspect. Like, okay, we're going to do like marketing. I'm going to try, I'm going to get a printer. We're going to have the website. I'm going to build this and do that. And it was like exciting to figure all that out. And just see it like actually work and start growing. Even back then, when I really like push a piece to that was different, or like really go into a different realm with a piece of art, it would be it would be crickets. It'd be like something I was super excited about because it was something different and like, oh, I'm gonna try this, do that, and didn't get the response. That's when it's like, oh man. And I feel like that's happened. And then I go back to just kind of what I knew was comfortable and not really explore too as much as I'd like to. And I'd notice every time I did push it a little bit into somewhere weird, it wouldn't get the response, which is that's not how you should value your art, right? But as a business, you have to value your art as people wanting it, right? Like the you have to value your what you're creating with the thought in mind of, is this going to make money, or it's not going to be a good business move. Might be a great thing for your art and for your personal art and your personal art practice, but it's not a good thing for your business to keep making things that people don't buy,
For
people
sure.
don't appreciate. So it's this like, and I hear it. I listen to art podcasts. I listen to artists all the time, and it's it's the same. It's like a broken record. It's like the business of art is so much different and so hard compared to making art. Like being an artist, it's you can be an artist with never selling a thing,
Yeah.
but if you want to make money and have a career being an artist, you have to sell stuff. You have to
Mhm.
sell your art.
Yeah.
So learning how to sell your art is um, it's a whole different game, whole different ball game. But then I think you were getting at my abstract pursuits. Like I started that whole thing during COVID, and I was just like, oh, this is a breath of fresh air. My sketchbooks when I was in Seaside for years, I go back and I'm like, dude, I was doing this stuff for so many years before then sketchbooks were just full of that. There wasn't a wave or an animal or anything in some of these sketchbooks. It was just like weird plant forms, abstract, just like my mind was just on hyperdrive for this stuff. It was just pouring out of me. It was like, this is exciting. This is how I want art to feel. I wasn't worried about selling it. I wasn't worried about if people were liking it. I liked it. I liked it more than anything I was doing. And then that just got too heavy in my head. And I was like, all right, I just have to put it out there. I have to like make a website. I've got to build prints. I've got to start putting this stuff out. And yeah, it was not getting it has not gotten the six, not success, but yeah, I guess it hasn't gotten the success
Attention.
that
Yeah.
I wanted it to have. But I think it's a blessing in disguise because the the things that have sold and the way I think about those things now, it's like it's just going to put me in the same position as Able Arts in 10 years if I
For sure.
pursue that. So I'm out. I've got a escape plan to go back to what it's like to create art as a kid again.
So I know you don't want to like talk about the specifics of your escape plan. Are you still going to be like running a business? Can you share that part of
Oh,
it?
yeah, it's going to be a business.
Business.
There's not going to be any manufacturing. There's not going to be any shipping.
Nice.
There's not going to be any uh, warehousing or fulfillment or storage. And that's what's really got me. It's a service,
Mm,
and it's got the potential to change so many artists' lives. It's insane. So
that's exciting.
it's super exciting, and I'm like I've got a good partner. He's like the tech guru part of it, and I'm just like, let's go every day. I'm like, what do we need to do here? Like, how can I help you make this all go really fast? Do we need to just have a bunch of money and pay developers to just make it happen ASAP? Because I am like so ready to go. So
Yeah,
it'll happen in due time.
totally.
Make it
Well, I feel
right.
like what you said about the business of art being difficult, and you start out as an artist all inspired, and then you like are all of a sudden running a business, and then it's like really hard to like it's almost like two separate things, like the creativity and the
That's
the
your brain.
creation. Yeah. And something that I've learned from like selling my art over the years is that I actually do enjoy business, but
Mm,
it's hard to like and maybe that's what you found too. If you're like going into another business venture, you've learned a lot about business probably
yeah,
from your job. But the two together, like being the one actually making the products
yeah.
and then also running the business and selling them, it's like it's almost way too many jobs for one person. And it's so hard to break through that threshold of even like assembling a team or affording like support in that way that might be needed. Do you have a current team right now helping you with what you do?
Um, my wife
Mhm.
is my other team member. I had a assistant for a couple of years. Young kid in here, Jake. He was great. It was it was very helpful. He was doing all the customer service. He was packing all the orders. He was sourcing products, and it was great. And he was in here only 5 hours a day, 2 days a week, and then he could do customer service remotely every day. Um, and he ended up leaving and go back to school and doing his own thing. But we were like, okay, who are we gonna get? We are like, are we doing interviews? Are we gonna get somebody else in here? And then I was like, oh, let's just see. It's kind of nice just to have my studio to myself and not have that pressure of like, okay, we gotta like we have stuff to do, but also like there's slow times where it's like you got to do some research galleries. Like I want a whole spreadsheet of like, let's get some more accounts. Let's research this, clean the studio. It was nice. He was cleaning the studio a lot,
Yeah.
which was good. And he was doing all the framing on my paintings. And I mean, it was great. I don't know why we haven't gotten somebody else because I'm just bogged down with admin and customer service and, you
Right.
know, dealing with the orders that got messed up or
Mhm.
whatever.
The emails are flowing in. I hear them right now.
Yeah, I know. It's just like my wife owns a fitness studio, so she's doing all kinds of stuff
Okay.
too. So she's mainly just doing like marketing,
Mhm.
running ads, working with the Google stuff, and that's very helpful. But I'm
Yeah.
paring it down. I've like sold out of my inventory of stuff that I actually ship from here, besides paintings. Um, I don't know. My brains are.
You're out.
I have got another company that I'm starting, and I'm just going to be free again. But we'll see.
Yeah. No, I feel that too with having somebody in your workspace. Like there are parts of it that are really nice because I had an in-person like helper coming in and packaging orders and doing a little bit emails and then like research on slow days.
Okay.
But it did start to feel like at times it was distracting me from actually like doing my job. And then I'm just trying to keep this person busy and that like shouldn't be my top priority. So it's like a really hard balance.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the problem of just having like one other person in a small company. But I mean, I could see it. If you had if you were actually had a printer and you had like a studio manager that was managing the printing and the packing, like I don't know. I don't know how these big teams work. Like I see all these big artists like Damien Hirst that's just got a city block studio, and like I don't know how many people are on his team, but he seems to be making a lot of art and not
Yeah,
bogged down with the bullshit. So
for sure.
maybe you need a bigger team.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I have a virtual assistant now that I would recommend, like, just getting someone even virtually to do your admin and customer
Yeah,
service stuff. Cause then
you
they
have
don't have to come in and you just have like a short meeting every couple weeks.
do you have that now?
I do. She's super helpful. Actually, I could connect you with her because I
Yeah,
think
she
she,
let me. She sent the podcast info.
yeah, Colleen, she's great. She's great. But she's really
You
good
want
at like
you want
that.
more work? See, I was thinking there has to be a company or a person that's like I want to be working for like 5 different artists remotely and just do all that for several artists. That could
Yeah,
be a full time job for somebody.
absolutely. Yeah. I can connect you after this.
Do you
I'm
not
not
have like permanent products? A bunch of permanent products? I thought I saw you have like a bunch of stuff.
I used to. I cut it. I don't anymore.
Good. That's what I do now. Nothing.
Yeah, so I was like, that's actually been another interesting thing for me is like I completely cut out my stickers. And because I felt like from an artist perspective, I felt like they were devaluing my art. And they've sold really well. So now from a business perspective, this year I'm like, man, it'd be nice to have those stickers. Like,
Funny you say that because I stopped. Our sticker packs flew out the door,
yeah.
and I stopped doing them because I had a plastic freak out, and I was like, I don't want it more. Just these are just plastic. Ah,
Mhm.
but everybody asks for stickers all the time, and they're great sellers. But
But so many people sell stickers too. So then I'm like, get like, there's so many other places you can get them from. And I think I respect that and aligning your values to like what you're selling.
yeah,
Because that's something else I wanted to ask you about was you're big on like kind of removing chemicals from your art process and
right.
everything.
Well, so did I did when we talked on the phone a while back. I was mentioning I was trying to make a all natural paint company, right?
Yeah.
Um, that has kind of stalled. Our chemist couldn't figure it out and had a lot of dead ends, which was really discouraging. But Natural Earth Paint here in Ashland, they happen to be here in Ashland. They did it. They figured it out. They have an all natural plant based resin paint that's just like acrylic. Um, it's pretty expensive. Comes in little 2-ounce tubes, and it's like $13 a tube, but they nailed it. They got it. So if they can scale that and make it like, I would go through a 2-ounce tube so freaking fast. Um, but I'm happy that they figured it out. So I'll be probably moving to that. I have so much paint in stock, like
Yeah,
so much acrylics, just buckets full of it. So it's gonna take a couple of years.
for sure. But that's
But
cool to
yeah,
know that they figured that out.
yeah, they got it, and it's great stuff. I've fiddled around with it a little bit, but they yeah. I'm trying to just figure out how to not like use house paint and normal acrylic paints, and yeah, the clear coats I use are still so nasty, but I found a couple different alternatives. But yeah, just it's a slow process, and I've tried. We don't use the only like bubble wrap or foam I'll use is from random packages I've received for whatever.
Mhm.
Just repurposing those, but I've been trying to get the printer to look at some alternatives. I think they still use like a thin foam wrap around canvas prints in their boxes, but I like the fact they use big staples instead of tape and stuff
Right.
around in their boxes. And we moved to craft water um, water activated tape instead of plastic packing tape. So
Yeah,
little things.
totally. Yeah, it is the little things that add up. And then I remember you saying too, like about animal hairs in the brushes.
Oh God, yeah.
What brushes do you use now?
Yeah? Well, I mean, I just use the same brush I've always had. I've got animal hair. I've got the plastic brush bristles. It's like what's worse, like animals that are being illegally trapped and used for their hair, or like tortured in the middle of China somewhere, or like a plastic bristle brush that's, yeah, I don't fucking know, man. It's
Yeah,
hard.
it is really hard, especially when you like, I don't know, it's just the world doesn't really ask you to think about that stuff. So then when you start realizing like all these things you're using are not great, that's just like the food we eat or anything, like anything you can buy.
Yeah, wrapped in plastic. It's overwhelming. I mean, I've had years of freaking out about it, and it's so hard to change
Yeah.
an entire line of of products, or just anything you buy. It's like, I don't know. It's overwhelming, but I think everybody's just got to do a little bit of what they think is right
For sure.
in their own path in their own career.
Switching gears a little bit, have you ever experienced any hardships in your life that you feel like have shaped you into who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, there's relationship breakups. Those are always character growing. I've been pretty lucky all my life. My grandma died. She was really close to me. Hardships. I mean, parenthood.
Yeah,
Parenthood is the biggest hardship I've had to endure. But the flip of the coin is it's amazing at the same time. So
for sure.
um, that's a that'll screw your head up for sure. Um, yeah, I've been lucky. I've been lucky. Just you know, the typical college kid being broke and trying to figure out how to make a living, and
Hmm.
I've been lucky. I haven't had any really big traumatic experiences like breaking my back, like you. I've had I have back issues and shoulder problems and things that bug me about like being able to do the things I love to do sometimes. But yeah, nothing too bad.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to your past self, like that broke college kid?
Man, I would have said make more art, like make a ton more art.
Yeah.
No, I mean make more art and just make that happen faster. I think like I I definitely it took a while to really I find that style after college. I felt like I was relying a lot on my graphic design and doing really generic graphic design, production design, logos, laying out brochures, doing, just doing design work for companies that didn't have really anything to do with my art. Um, but once I could get more of my style kind of figured out, and once I got jobs, commercial projects that were after my personal art, then it kind of became easier to just keep that ball rolling. Um, but yeah, I think be paint more and just try to do that faster, and maybe not drink and smoke weed so much, and say no to parties once in a while, and just work more at night. I don't know.
For sure.
What would you say to your younger
Oh,
self?
oh God, way to turn it around. Um, I think I would say worry less.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think I was like just worried about everything. And I don't, that's the takeaway on like when I look back at most of my life, I'm like, I didn't need to worry about that. Like, just like enjoy it.
Yeah, too blessed to stress.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Final question. How do you spend your Sundays?
Right now, either snowboarding or um, maybe in the studio, or just doing, family stuff, friends' houses, birthday parties.
Love it.
Yeah, been taking my son's finally getting into snowboarding this year. I was dragging him up last year, but he's finally into it. So that's been kind of fun.
Fun. How old is he?
7.
Perfect age.
Yeah.
Lay the
I don't know what I
foundation.
was thinking. Like I should have I should have got him up when he was way younger. I guess we didn't live here, so harder.
Yeah. Also, I feel like there were a couple weird years there with ski areas and like I don't know what Ashland was like, but not being able to even like get passes and stuff during COVID.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's no. I was riding quite a bit during COVID. It was, you had to mask up and all that, but Ashland's cheap. It's awesome little mountain.
Awesome. Well, Erik, your art is amazing, and I hope that you continue to find the inspiration and stick with the stoke. And I'm excited to see where all of your future projects are going to lead you and follow along. And
Shooting myself in the foot saying that I don't want to be an artist anymore. Maybe it'll make my art more valuable. I don't know. It'll be
it
like
might. People are going to be like, it's going to run out.
I think I've like planned it out. I'm like, I've been planning, like, am I just gonna tell people I'm stopping? I'm stopping Able Arts? Is it gonna end like that? I'm gonna have a letter on my website that says, better buy anything you can because it's not gonna be available forever. I don't know.
I
We'll
think
see.
that's a good idea if and when you really are ready though, because I did that with like my stickers, greeting cards, and like all my like products I had on the shelf. I did like a merch liquidation sale and
So there you go.
yeah, my sales
I
were
should probably create like
crazy.
100 paintings and just have them ready to roll.
Yes, like really do the sale big or do like even the things that sold the best for me were like seconds. Like I had like a canvas
Uh,
print with like a little, like smudge or like
yeah,
a print with like a bent corner. And then I like put them all up and like everything sold out in 24 hours.
that's great.
But I'm like, now do I have to do a liquidation sale to sell anything anymore? No, not really.
You just have to like make seconds. You're just bending corners on prints.
Yeah, just like, oh, it's unique. Because I think people do like something unique though. So,
Yeah, I signed the back of it.
Erik, well, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to chat with you, hear about your story and where you're headed, and appreciate
Thanks
your
for
time.
having me. I'd love
Yeah.
to come back on and tell everybody about the biz when I've got it all ready to roll.
Yes, let's definitely do that. Let me know. Shoot me an email when that's time.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, Gianna.
All
Thanks.
right. Keep in touch. Talk to you later. Bye.